And that's exactly what they seem to have done. And Mamata Banerjee today surprising everyone with her decision to withdraw support. Barkha, Dutt, Group Editor, NDTV, many thanks for joining us and sharing your views on the kind of developments we've seen in the last couple of minutes. Let me introduce our special guest on the show. We've got with me here Nalin Kohli, National Executive Member of the BJP, Mr. H.K. Dua, Member of Parliament, Senior Journalist, my colleague Arijit Banerjee, and of course Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, CMD of Biocon, who joins us from Bangalore, Jyotinder Kaur, economist with HDFC Bank, and also Prashant Nair to tell us what exactly will happen to the markets here on. To you first, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, your first reaction to Mamata Banerjee's decision.
Well, you know, I think Mamata Banerjee has held the government to ransom for far too long. I don't think what she has done would really be that surprising, because Mamata Banerjee basically, really is a crusader of the poor. She plays the poverty card. I don't think her sense of economic development is really about what the rest of the country wants. And, well, I think she's taken a stand. I think the government was half expecting it, maybe not to this extent, but so be it. I think good economics never makes good politics. And I think this is the time when India is in a dire economic crisis. And I think there is no option but to take certain hard decisions. So I think that's what we're really addressing today. As Barkha just said, I mean, you know, in the finance minister's own words, it is going to be very difficult to contain fiscal deficit at 5.1%. You know, the exports are declining, the FDI is declining, we've got a trade deficit which is in excess of $70 billion. I think the optics as a whole are very, very dire in terms of investment. I think we have to find ways of investing in India, create that investment climate which will bring in foreign investment, because without that, we cannot even go beyond the 5.5% GDP growth that we're talking about. So I think we are put into a situation, yes, if you ask me, we've had to, been forced to come out with these economic reforms all in one go. It would have been better if it had been done and spaced out, but I don't think the government has an option.
All right, the government didn't have an option but to go in for a flurry of reforms. Many would argue that perhaps if they had spaced it out, it would have been better. But Mr. Dua, let's get a sense of where the government really stands right now. What happens next? How does this really stack up for the government? What are the numbers looking like? Is it all now about Mayawati and how she is going to really respond to this?
Shweta, I don't think the government is going to fall in the near future.
Okay,
that's a fear which everybody had. If Mamata walks out, UPA government will be. There is no parliament session till mid-November, and after that, winter session. Then only a year and a few months are left, year and a quarter are left before 2014. I don't know what will happen in 2013. Even if a third front, she joins, Mamata Banerjee joins with Mulayam Singh and some others, and that left she can't join. There's no third front without the left, symbolically.
Right.
Although their position in this parliament has gone down from 61 to 16. Now, who will she join? She cannot join with the BJP. So I don't think, even by walking out, she is going to topple the government, and she doesn't have the strength to topple the government. Only reliable ally she can have in future, not at present, is Mulayam Singh Yadav, who has called her sister, and lately they have been having negotiations on presidential election.
But again, it didn't work as well at the time of the presidential elections as she would have liked it to. So that strategy also backfired.
Is Mulayam Singh ready to face election? No.
No, right.
Because his numbers in the assembly may not be reflected in the numbers he may get in the Lok Sabha in case there is an urgent poll. And I don't know whether Mamata's earlier guess was that she can get 35 on the strength of what assembly vote, if it's reflected in the... She may not get 35, and supposing the left gets a few seats, or Congress gets a few seats, that will be a big setback for her. She may get more than others. So no major non-BJP opposition party wants immediate election.
Let's ask the BJP if they want it. Nalin, are you ready for early polls?
No, I mean, as a matter of fact, that is not something that we can take a call on. At
Are
the
you
end
ready
of the day,
for early polls?
we are ready for
Point-
polls whenever they are. I mean, I think as an opposition party, we are ready for whatever situation that comes. And I think I'll put it also absolutely bluntly, we are ready to give a better economy also. Because, you know...
Without FDI?
No, I'll just
Or
give you an
with
answer on
FDI?
that. No, I'll give you an answer on that.
Okay.
We are opposed to FDI in terms of the
MPs
timing.
ready? Are
In
your
terms
MPs
of
ready?
timing.
Mr. Dutt.
Are your MPs
You are a
ready?
very seasoned, very seasoned journalist. If an election poll comes, it's not about the BJP's MP. All 543 MPs will be in election. So, but coming back to the point I want to make is that, you know, it is important to recognize we don't start just simply putting the entire blame, as with the Congress party will, on Mamata Banerjee alone. I think the question to be asked is that if the economy is in such a mess, it doesn't take rocket science to keep building roads. It doesn't take rocket science to build cold storages. It doesn't take rocket science to do 40 things that FDI is being portrayed as the silver bullet. Not at all. And I think, you know, just to say that the economy has come down to 5.5 and now we need foreign investment, I think it begs for the reverse question. Why are Indian industrialists running out of here? So I think routine things are not getting done in this government, and I don't think routine things were being managed by Ms. Banerjee or by any of the allies. Most of those ministries are with the Congress.
All right, why don't we listen to your colleague, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, who is addressing the media right now. Quick reaction of the BJP coming in to Mamata Banerjee's withdrawal. Let's listen in.
केंद्र सरकार की उल्टी गिनती शुरू हो गई है। कांग्रेस का जो अहंकार रहा है, जिस तरह वो अपने सहयोगियों को टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड लेते हैं, 17 नवंबर 2011 को लोकसभा में तत्कालीन वित्त मंत्री आदरणीय प्रणब बाबू और राज्यसभा में आनंद शर्मा ने कहा था, बिना कंसेंसस बनाए, स्टेक होल्डर से बातचीत किए, पॉलिटिकल पार्टी से बातचीत किए, एफडीआई रिटेल के बारे में फैसला नहीं होगा। विपक्ष की बात तो छोड़ दें, स्वयं अपने सहयोगी दलों, जिनकी बैसाखी पर कांग्रेस की सरकार केंद्र की टिकी हुई है, उनसे भी चर्चा नहीं होती है। ये अहंकार है, ये गुरूर है। कांग्रेस के डीएनए में ये अहंकार है, जो हमने शुरू से कहा था। न संवाद है, न चर्चा होती है। और आज ममता जी ने एक बात कही है, टोल गेट से ध्यान बटाने के लिए एफडीआई रिटेल का गेट खोला गया है। यही बात हमने भी कही। ये सरकार जो फंसी हुई है बड़े बड़े भ्रष्टाचार में, आम आदमी महंगाई से परेशान है, डीजल की कीमतों से परेशान है, सरकार की लूट से दुखित है और क्रोधित है, उन सबों से ध्यान बटाने के लिए कार्रवाई की गई। स्वाभाविक है।
The BJP putting out its first response to Mamata Banerjee's withdrawal, calling it clear arrogance on part of the UPA government that has led to a situation like this. Let me go across to my colleague Prashant Nair to get a sense of how the stock markets are going to react to this. Prashant, can we breathe a sigh of relief that the markets are shut tomorrow?
I don't think it'll really matter, Shweta. I mean, you know, because I think I heard Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, they're pointing out, and she seemed relieved as well, if I can sort of, you know, she can come in if my reading is incorrect. Corporates that we've spoken to, India Inc. that we've spoken to over the last couple of days, and we put this specific question to a variety of people. What happens if there are early elections? You know, before last Thursday, if you had put that question to anybody, you know, you would have got a unanimous answer that, well, you know, it's about time. Nothing is happening, so let's get some new guys in. Let there be early elections. It's not going to be all that negative. So, you know, you've got some things which have happened, fuel price increase, some FDI stuff, etc., which has happened. So the government seems to be on a move. One way of looking at this is that, you know, maybe this will put a halt to what the government wants to do. But is it really so? I mean, they've got the Samajwadi Party, they've got the BSP. So, as somebody earlier on the show also pointed out, there is no immediate risk to the government itself failing in that sense. So, I mean, you know, in a way, if anything, I would say it's positive. Mamata Banerjee, as you earlier pointed out, was blocking pretty much everything. So, you know, if the government can survive and remain whole without her, you know, I don't see how that is really a big negative. Absolutely. I just, Shweta, I just had a quick question to Nalin there from the BJP. Nalin, would this give the BJP would the BJP essentially now push for a vote of no confidence in the parliament? I mean, would you do that? Would the BJP do that?
You know, it's very premature to give an answer on that. First, as you would realize, that Parliament is not in session. And the second part is that, and Mr. Dua, I think, had raised it a little while back, that, you know, we are between sessions now. And the second point is that, look, that's a policy decision. And one has to wait and see, because what happens with the other support to the government, which is essentially the outside support of Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav and the BSP. So let's wait and see. It's very premature. But the fact is, I think the Congress party needs to take this very seriously, because I think, you know, they can't just take decisions on their own and roughshod on any ally. Now, every vote in Parliament is going to count to them. So I think consensus building might be one thing that they may look for, but maybe it's too late in the day.
Okay, consensus building is something that clearly the government needs to work on, but right now it will be all about getting new allies on board. Jatinder Kaur, I'd like you to respond to what my colleague Prashant was saying with response to, if the government does survive, it will actually be a stronger government, a bolder government, and that will be a big boost for the economy.
I absolutely agree with that. You know, we've had allies holding back key government decisions, and if these allies were to as has happened this evening, be away from the government, there is likely to be significant action in terms of government policies, and we've already started seeing murmurings of a second round of reform measures, the so-called nuts and bolts reform measures doing the rounds. And if at all the government survives, and I hope it does, it will be a stronger, faster, more proactive government.
All right, I think you had a response to that, Nalan, quickly.
You know, I quickly want to say this. You know, we keep looking again and again and look at these big ticket reforms and feel that the allies have been stopping it. I've got the counter view, which is essentially that, you know, very routine decisions of this government have not been taking place. And key ministries happen to be with the Congress, where there have been complaints of policy paralysis too. So, you know, let's not just keep passing the blames only on the allies on these big ticket reforms, and rather look at stuff. For example, you know, infrastructure is stalled badly. From 11 kilometers a day, it's come down to 2 kilometers a day, and they are constantly saying power has been with the the Congress party throughout, coal has been with the Congress party throughout, and we have a coal gate. So
let's get Mazumdar-Shaw to respond to that.
So I think we don't need to blame the allies
Ma'am,
all the time.
would you like to respond to that, that this government has always passed on the buck to allies for having stalled the reform process?
Well, let me answer that by saying that I agree that infrastructure is woefully short because we haven't really invested in infrastructure. We are all very concerned with the fact that road building has not taken place at the pace that it should, etc., etc. Power continues to be in huge deficit. I agree that infrastructure is something that we have to pay urgent attention to. But I would also like to make a comment that I think this consensus building has actually caused economic decline in a broad sense. Moreover, I also want to slightly shift this debate. You know, we keep talking about this huge opposition to FDI in retail, and I for one have been very closely engaged with the farming community. And everyone has been using the farmers' plight as the reason for not supporting FDI in retail. Please speak to farmers. Please speak to, the president of the Farmers Cooperative, Mr. Chengal Reddy, who himself will tell you that every farmer wants investment and he welcomes FDI if it helps him to improve the infrastructure, helps with, improvement in their own livelihood, which they think it will help. Secondly, Dr. Chengal Reddy was also telling me that they have been mooting this concept of privatizing irrigation for a long time, and this is also something that is going to boost agriculture. If you think about it, agriculture and manufacturing are the two sectors that are underperforming for our country. And why? Because we need to build scale. We need to organize these sectors. without massive investment, you're not going to be able to do either of this. And what FDI, whether it's domestic multi-brand retail, whether it's foreign multi-brand retail does, is to actually create this scaling opportunity for the farmers, for the manufacturing sector. I think that's what it's about.
Shweta, we were just talking about the government passing the buck always to the allies. And if you just think about it, the government has acted over the last 72 hours or so. Mamata Banerjee was part of the government. So what was really stopping the government from moving forward? And to that extent, I think it's an important point. And it's not just Mamata Banerjee, but also the man now who's now in Rashtrapati Bhavan, with all due respect, who perhaps, so the change in government with Pranab Mukherjee moving out, Mr. P. Chidambaram coming in and taking charge has also made a big difference. So you've got Mamata out of the government, Mr. P. Chidambaram taking control of, the finance ministry and really driving things from here. So the caveat here is that the government stays whole with these developments, with the support of the SP and the BSP, and I don't think it's negative at all in any way. As far as I think India Inc. goes. Kiran, if you want to make a quick comment, I mean, I'm sure this has come up with with regards to
absolutely
your conversations with your peers. I mean, your friends in the industry. What's the feedback? I mean, what would all of this mean? Would you take this positively, or would you be sort of nervous?
Well, I think, Mamata has been a huge hindrance to this government performing, and if actually they find that they can do very well without Mamata, and if Mr. Chidambaram, who has actually shown that he is a man on the move and a man in a hurry, I think they will come out stronger. But I think it remains to be seen if there are other political posturings and whether this government is able to stave off that political posturing. I think it will make them much stronger, and more importantly, the economy will improve.
All right, now my one pointed question to all the guests has been this: many believed was really the nuclear deal moment for UPA too. Who has been a worse off ally, the left or Mamata? Mr. Dutt, to you first.
No, I would say, well, in one case it was the left which was the fall guy, now it's the Mamata that is the fall guy. But the point is, the essential point is government's credibility to decide has been restored, which had been shaken. And particularly this will be popular with the middle class.
And you actually believe that this will in turn become more positive. That's exactly what you're also saying.
The middle class was alienated from the Congress party. This will restore confidence of the middle class in this government's capacity to decide, even against challenges from allies like Mamata.
Mr. Sanjeev Aga, a very well-known industry expert, also now joins us on the show. Mr. Aga, there is actually a divided view as to whether the government has restored credibility and will in fact emerge more successful and even stronger after this. But there are many others who actually believe that some of the decisions they've taken is actually something which will backfire for the government when it comes to a clear political motive that the government may have in mind. Because for the Aam Aadmi out there, they do not understand the rationale behind a diesel hike or capping LPG subsidies, or for that matter, even FDI and retail.
You've asked two questions, rather you've made two comments. One is whether it is good politics or bad politics. I don't think good politics is equal to staying in government by hook or by crook. So politics means you must do the right thing, and if you have to lose your place in the government, so be it. Normally you don't, because honesty shows in your body language. I remember when I was a very young boy, in 1966, one of my uncles, one day I found at his home he was not eating food. And I asked him why, and he said Mr. Shastri, Lal Bahadur Shastri, had requested Indians to skip one meal a week. Those were the days of PL 480. So, leadership asks for sacrifices, and people make sacrifices if they believe the leadership is right. Today the problem is that you're doing the right thing. Unfortunately, you're doing it 9 years too late. And you've lost some credibility, but never mind. 9 years too late, but start now, do the right thing, and don't worry. Don't do anything out of fear. If they go, they go.
Okay, and that's exactly what they've done, and perhaps also the pressure on our Prime Minister, reformist Prime Minister and economist Prime Minister, not to go down in history as an underachiever, as the Time magazine called him, or a tragic figure, as the Washington Post described him. Jyotinder Kaur, a quick word from you as to whether the Prime Minister at least will go down in history as someone who did try to push forward some of those big, bold reforms.
Well, it's a matter of debate at this stage whether it's the Prime Minister who tried or Mr. P. Chidambaram. But without sort of commenting on Mr. Manmohan Singh, I'd just like to say that what the government has done over the last week or so is enough to kind of qualify it as a government that has at least tried. It may have sort of unevened the pitch to begin with, but if we don't have this government tomorrow morning or in the weeks ahead, I think it would be a fairly respectable pitch to sign off from.
All right, my colleague Srinivasan Jain on the phone line with us to